Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we re-dive in deep into a topic that has shaped Southeast Asian politics for centuries. The long and often tense relationship between Thailand and Cambodia, specifically their recurring border disputes. You might have heard about the skirmishes over the Preah Vihear temple, but the roots of this conflict go much, much deeper. It's a fascinating story involving ancient empires, colonial mapmaking, modern politics, and national pride. So, why do these two neighboring countries, who share so much in terms of culture and history, find themselves at odds so often? Let's break it down. To truly understand the issue, we have to travel back in time, way back. For centuries, this region was a fluid landscape of powerful kingdoms. The mighty Khmer Empire, centered at Angkor, once controlled vast territories that included much of modern-day Thailand. Then, as the Khmer Empire declined, Siamese kingdoms like Ayutthaya and later Bangkok rose to prominence, expanding their influence and often clashing with their Khmer neighbors. This was a time of shifting allegiances and porous borders, defined more by loyalty to a ruler than by lines on a map. This historical power dynamic, with Thailand often in the dominant position, created a sense of historical grievance in Cambodia that lingers to this day. Think of it as a centuries-old rivalry, where one side feels they lost their former glory and territory to the other. Then, in the 19th century, a new player entered the game: France. As France colonized Indochina, which included Cambodia, they set about defining clear, European-style borders. In 1904 and 1907, France and Siam, which is what Thailand was called then, signed treaties to demarcate the frontier. The problem was, these maps were often drawn with French interests in mind, not necessarily respecting the local geography, ethnic populations, or historical claims. The most contentious of these was the map that placed the stunning Preah Vihear temple, a masterpiece of Khmer architecture perched atop a cliff in the Dangrak Mountains, on the Cambodian side of the border. The Thais have always argued that the natural watershed line should be the border, which would place the temple in Thailand. This single act of colonial-era cartography planted a seed of conflict that would sprout over and over again for the next century. Fast forward to the mid-20th century, Cambodia gained independence from France, and the issue of Preah Vihear immediately flared up. Cambodia, citing the French-drawn maps, claimed sovereignty. Thailand, pointing to the watershed argument and its long-standing cultural and religious ties to the temple, disagreed. The dispute escalated until it reached the International Court of Justice, or ICJ. In a landmark 1962 ruling, the court sided with Cambodia, awarding its sovereignty over the temple. The court's reasoning was that Thailand had, for decades, accepted the French map and had not formally protested it, thereby implicitly agreeing to the border. This was a huge blow to Thai national pride and a major victory for Cambodia. However, the ruling was cleverly ambiguous about one crucial detail: the land immediately surrounding the temple. It awarded the temple to Cambodia, but didn't clearly define the border for the 4.6 square kilometers of adjacent territory. This ambiguity became the flashpoint for all future conflicts. For several decades, the issue lay relatively dormant, mainly because Cambodia was engulfed in its own tragic history: the rise of the Khmer Rouge and decades of civil war. During this time, Thailand controlled access to the temple from its side, and a fragile status quo was maintained. But as Cambodia stabilized in the 1990s and early 2000s, the issue roared back to life. This is where modern politics and economics come into play. The border region is not just about an ancient temple. It's also about resources. We're talking about potential tourism revenue, logging, and perhaps even mineral deposits. Control over the territory means control over these economic assets. For both countries, developing the area for tourism is a lucrative prospect. But that can't happen peacefully without a clear border. The conflict really exploded in 2008. The catalyst: Cambodia successfully applied to have Preah Vihear listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This move was celebrated in Cambodia as a recognition of its cultural heritage. But in Thailand, it was seen as a provocative act, an attempt by Cambodia to solidify its claim over the disputed surrounding land. Nationalist groups in Thailand, particularly the Yellow Shirt movement, used the issue to rally support and to pressure the government. They accused their own leaders of being too soft on Cambodia and of losing Thai territory. This is a powerful theme in Thai politics. The idea of protecting every inch of the sovereign kingdom. The political pressure became immense. This political firestorm quickly led to military consequences. Both Thailand and Cambodia began reinforcing their troops along the border near the temple. What started as political posturing soon spiraled into actual combat. Between 2008 and 2011, there were multiple rounds of fierce clashes between the two armies. Soldiers on both sides were killed, and civilians living near the border were forced to flee their homes. They used everything from small arms to heavy artillery, and parts of the ancient temple itself were even damaged in the crossfire. It was a shocking and tragic escalation over a dispute that had simmered for a century. The world watched as two neighbors, who should be partners, were engaged in a small-scale border war. It was the most serious military confrontation between the two nations in decades. So, how did they pull back from the brink? Once again, the international community got involved. ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, tried to mediate, but the real game-changer was another trip to the International Court of Justice. In 2011, Cambodia asked the court to reinterpret its original 1962 judgment to clarify the ownership of the disputed land around the temple. In 2013, the ICJ delivered its verdict. It reaffirmed that Cambodia had sovereignty over the entire promontory of Pria V, meaning not just the temple structure itself, but the hill it sits on. While it didn't draw a precise new borderline, it made it clear that Thailand had an obligation to withdraw its military and police forces from that area. This ruling provided a legal framework to de-escalate the military standoff. It didn't solve all the problems, but it cooled things down significantly. Since that 2013 ruling, the situation has been much calmer. But the underlying issues haven't vanished. The border is still not fully demarcated. There are other disputed areas too, not just around Pria Via, but also in maritime zones in the Gulf of Thailand, where potential oil and gas reserves lie. The relationship today is a complex mix of cooperation and competition. Economically, the two countries are deeply intertwined. Thailand is a major investor in Cambodia, and hundreds of thousands of Cambodians work in Thailand, sending vital money back home. They trade goods, they share tourists, and leaders from both sides talk about partnership and a shared future. But beneath the surface, the historical rivalry and the potent force of nationalism remain. Whenever there's political instability in either Bangkok or Phnom Penh, the border issue is an easy card for politicians to play. It's a way to distract from domestic problems and rally the public around the flag. In Thailand, appearing tough on Cambodia is often seen as a sign of strong leadership. In Cambodia, standing up to its larger neighbor is a source of national pride. This political dynamic means the dispute can flare up again with little warning. The military on both sides remains stationed near the border, a constant reminder of the unresolved tensions. So, to sum it all up, the Thai-Cambodian border dispute is not a simple argument over a line on a map. It's a multi-layered conflict fueled by history, from the days of competing empires to the legacy of colonial mapmaking. It's shaped by economics, with valuable resources and tourism dollars at stake. And most importantly, it's driven by politics and nationalism, where historical grievances and national pride can be easily manipulated for political gain. The 1962 and 2013 ICJ rulings have provided a legal foundation for Cambodia's claim to Pria Vihir, but they haven't erased a century of disagreement or the deep-seated emotions tied to the land. The path forward requires not just technical border demarcation, but a genuine effort to build trust and move beyond the historical rivalries that have defined their relationship for so long. It's a classic example of how the ghosts of the past continue to haunt the present. Thanks so much for watching. This is a really complex topic, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think is the key to a lasting peace between Thailand and Cambodia? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into history and politics. See you next time.